has enjoyed a rich theatrical career since starting as a stage manager in 1948. In 1963, he joined Bernard Delfont, a partnership that saw them co-present over 200 summer seasons, pantomime and tours. He has been an active member involved in 80 West End shows, a member of the Arts Council, the English Tourist Board, and a board member of the National Theatre for 15 years from its inauguration on the South Bank in 1976. Please, would you welcome Mr. Richard Mill?
Interrupt me. Don't mind being interrupted. I've been interrupted before. Remember, I've been married. You all should be comfortably. Close up. You're all sitting comfortably in the Lansdowne Club. That's where you're sitting. I am standing on the stage at the Glasgow Empire Singing House Friday night. That's how nervous I am. Right, now looking around this room, which contains so many performers, I wonder, first of all, I've got a story to tell you. I want you to think you're back 2,000 years. You are seated in the Colosseum of Rome. In the middle of the arena, there are dozens of Christians waiting to be eaten by the lions. In the middle of the group, there's a patrician, tall, long flowing hair, white robes. He says, "Do not worry, my friends, I will take care of this." At that moment, Caesar raised his arm, and into the arena poured 100 ravenous lions. The patrician approached the largest lion, went over and whispered something in his ear. The lion turned round, grunted, and all the lions slunk out of the arena and back into their cages. And one of the men said, "What did you say to him?" I said, "After the feast come the speeches." Now, looking around the room, which contains so many performers, I wonder how I, as an unperformer, can hold your attention. Well, first of all, I must tell you, I've locked the doors. Now, the late Paul Daniels told me the secret of addressing an audience is to look round at them and imagine they are all naked. It doesn't work, Paul. I feel naked. Anyway, listen, I wanted to tell you, I would like to tell you that you all look in very good shape. I would like to tell you. Now, I can't tell you any jokes because you know them all. So perhaps I thought I would concentrate on anecdotes that might do the trick. So I compiled a list of anecdotes and kicked off with a Peter Sellers story. And I thought, no, that's no good. But I won't do the anecdotes, I'll just tell you the Peter Sellers story. If you want to hear it, do you want to hear it? Yeah. Okay. When I first met Tommy Steele in 1958, really? I had the misfortune to be working as company manager for a show. If I'm going too fast, let me know. I'm getting out of breath. I had the misfortune to to be working as company manager for a show called Brouhaha, which starred Peter Sellers. On the opening night, Peter came to me and said, I didn't know I was going to do the same thing every night, otherwise I wouldn't have signed the contract. And he proceeded not to. In the stage management book, which records the running times, the shortest was 2:31 minutes and the longest 3:31. Peter gave me all sorts of problems, but I'll just give you one instance. One night he came to me and says, I want to speak to the audience before the performance. I thought, Christ, what's he up to now? Okay, Peter. So he went in front of the tabs and he said to the audience, I'm pissed. I'm really pissed. He said, would you prefer to see me pissed or the understudy sober? Prose, and instead I should be dedicating my speech to my very dear friend, who I've known for over 50 years, who is a legend in his own lifetime. That great entertainer and megastar, having achieved so much and holding so many records. What was his name again? Tommy Steele. Now, I'm not going to dwell on this because most of you know the story about being a cabin boy, getting the song from America, coming back, rock and roller, Two Eyes, Larry Palms. I'm not going to repeat all that because you all know it. I think you all know it. If you're not, it's in the brochure. And Tommy won't thank me for going through it all again. Anyway, he had a #1 hit in the charts with Singing the Blues in 1956, and thereafter made many songs which appeared in the top 20. Approximately 50 years, in 1957, he appeared in the Royal Variety performance and stopped the show. 50 years later, he appeared in the Royal Variety show and stopped the performance again. Now, we may not know this, but James Bond mentions him in the book Thunderball. He says of an uncouth and useless youth, he's a great opinion of himself. He thinks he's Tommy Steele. Tommy Steele has one of the sharpest and most creative minds that I know, and his accomplishments in various areas are absolutely magnificent. He can paint, he can sculpt, he can act, he can sing, he can direct, he can write, he can make films, etc. If he were religious, he would probably be Pope. Tommy Steele is a prolific painter, and you know he's had an exhibition at the Royal Academy. Writing, he wrote several books, among them a book called Quincy's Quest, which was turned into a television show which he appeared in. Acting. In 1960, he appeared at the Old Vic playing Tony Lumpkin in She Stoops to Conquer. And playing Kate Hardcastle in that show was Dame Judi Dench. Being a great practical joker, when they sat down for the first read-through, Tommy pretended he couldn't read. So he stuttered and stammered. And he heard all the press. He can't read, he doesn't know how to read. And then he owned up and got a big laugh. Anyway, Tommy told me that when he was due to make his very first TV special appearance, he was standing at the top of a long flight of stairs behind closed doors, very nervously trying to compose himself before his entrance. Next to him was the stagehand, who was due to open the doors. And just before Tommy went on, the stagehand said to him, "Do you know, Tommy, there are 15 million people watching this program," which didn't do a lot for Tommy's nerves. Dancing. When Tommy was appearing in Half a Sixpence on Broadway, am I going okay? Not too fast? was appearing in Half a Sixpence on Broadway, Gene Kelly asked him to appear on his television show. When Tommy said, "I can't dance," Kelly said, "I'll teach you. We'll do two of a kind." Tommy, breath. Tommy, a little glass of water if you don't mind. Tommy rehearsed for weeks until his feet bled. The brilliant result you must look at yourself if you haven't seen it on YouTube. When he made the film Finian's Rainbow, playing the leprechaun, Fred Astaire, who was starring in the film, asked him if he could dance. Tommy said a little, and Astaire said, "Well, show me some steps." Tommy did a few, and Astaire looked at him and says, "You've been with the Irishman, haven't you?" Sculpting, well, you know about his statue of Olympia, etc., etc. One day, when he was appearing for me and Lord Delphont at the ABC Blackpool, prior to his appearing in his one-man show at the West End, he said, "Do you want some publicity?" I said, "Yeah." Front page, he said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, give me £2,000, and there was a controversy at the time that there was no statue of Charlie Chaplin in London. So Tommy built in his hotel room an 8-foot-high statue of Charlie Chaplin. Then, once we'd opened in town, in the middle of the night, at 3 a.m, he took it to Leicester Square and on a 1-ton base erected it. He then phoned the papers anonymously and said, "This is a picture of a statue of Charlie Chaplin." And it was front page. "Who's put this statue of Charlie Chaplin? Who's done it?" And I said to Tommy, "Well, that's fine, Tommy, but when do we get our publicity?" He said, "Leave it for a week and then I'll open up." And he did, and we got front page again. So there we go. I'm going to let you into a secret about what Tommy does in bed at night. First of all, he goes in and locks the door. Then he goes to the bed, unzips the mattress, and takes out all the white fibres he earned in the 50s and makes castles out of it. Now, when Tommy travels, he always takes his money with him in an asbestos suitcase in case of the fire. Danny LaRue told me that he went backstage one day to see Tommy after a performance. He said, "And the wine flowed like treacle." Fair to Tommy, whenever Tommy and I went out to dinners together, he always picked up the bill. Never paid it. Which puts me in mind, am I going too long? Which puts me in mind of the night we were having dinner at the Leofric Hotel in Coventry after his first night. Presented. This is back in 1976, remember? I went to pay the bill, and he said, "How much are they charging you for the lobster?" And I said, £79. Remember, this is 50 years ago. He said, "Well, pay the bill, but don't pay for the lobster." We then checked around New York, London, even Maxim's in Paris, and nobody, apart from Maxim's, began to approach that price. So Tommy said, "Leave it to me." Next day, he sent his assistant down to a local fishing port, bought a fresh lobster, wrapped it in newspaper with a pound of butter and sent it round to the Leofric. And we never heard another word. After all these she-ropes, I'm going to tell you the true story of Tommy Steele. very best friend for 60 years, and in all that time, he has been extremely generous. He painted a special portrait of me as a poker player. He gave me one of the 3 prototype statues of the Charlie Chaplin statue. For many years, I was always his guest at his New Year's Eve party, and it was at one of these which we hatched the plan for his one-man show. And whenever I wanted anything, he's always been there for me. But, most important of all, he is godfather to my autistic son Matthew. And over the years, regardless of where or what he's been doing, on Matthew's birthday and at Christmas, he would always either turn up with a present or send him a postcard and a little cartoon on it, and best wishes. Now, before I started the speech, Tommy slipped me a brief note. It said, "Be brief." I told him not to worry. I had received great tuition from the late Ken Dodd. Now, Tommy, if you've got the hook under your chair, now's the time to pull it out. But first of all, another story. When it was appearing in the record-breaking show The Prince of Wales, which ran for well over a year, the famous Broadway impresario Jimmy Niederlande came to see it and said, "This is the greatest performer I've seen since Al Jolson. Can you bring the show to Broadway?" And Tommy refused. Well, just a minute, I was replaced. Now, I'm sure that you've all seen that wonderful picture, the Jolson story. But actually, Al Jolson made that 40 years after he first appeared. Tommy Steele made a film called The Tommy Steele Story, and believe it or not, he made it 5 months after he first appeared. Tommy subtitled it From the Cradle to the Shave. Talking of Jolson, I once said to Tommy, "You know, Tommy, you are probably the greatest entertainer I've ever worked with, except there is one that comes ahead of you, Sammy Davis Jr. He is the king." Tommy thought for a moment. He said, "That's all right, I don't mind being the crown prince." Another quick story. Tommy and I were sitting one night together in the first night of the musical. I don't think I should mention its name. It was terrible. The first act ran forever. The dialogue was terrible. The music was dirge. Eventually, we staggered through to the interval, and the house lights came on. And a loud and happy voice came over the speaker system and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, you'll be very happy to know you can now purchase your brochures and long-playing records in the foyer." Tommy turned to me and says, "Now they're taking the piss." We're nearly there, folks. Now, I think we're nearly there. Yeah, we're. Now, for the best bit of all, as you probably know, Tommy holds a fantastic record at the London Palladium for the most performances, 1,763 performances. I'll repeat that, 1,763. Now, Tommy, as long as the earth keeps spinning, this will never be beaten, nor will your record of Prince of Wales. To sum up, Tommy, in all the years that I've been in show business, and thanks to that late, great Bernard Delfont, who allowed me to co-present shows with him, I have been associated with many great stars and had some wonderful moments. But nothing compares, Tommy, to most wonderful moments I have shared with you over our 60 years of friendship. Thank you, Tommy.